closely following a developing story that could upend summer travel plans for thousands of Canadians. Air Canada says it will start canceling flights and issuing refunds ahead of a potential flight attendant strike. More than 10,000 workers could walk off the job early Saturday morning, Eastern Time. In response to the strike notice, Air Canada has issued a lockout notice. The airline says that the first flights will be canceled tomorrow, with more coming on Friday, ahead of a possible total grounding of the fleet. The company is seeking government-directed arbitration to resolve the situation. Air Canada Express flights, though, they are not affected. And now I want to turn to Wesley Lesosky. He's the president of the Air Canada component of CUPE. Wesley, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So Air Canada, CUPE has issued the strike notice. Air Canada responds with the lockout notice to your union today. That doesn't, I think if anybody's watching this happening in terms of where negotiations stand, it doesn't sound good.
It doesn't sound good, and that's why we move forward this way to obviously apply the pressure to hopefully bring Air Canada back to the table to continue discussions on the few remaining items.
Are you hopeful?
Optimistic that they will come back and we can ensue some positive dialogue and come to an agreement at the table. Yes, thus far it's been waves of up and downs, positive and standstill. It's quite disappointing that they stopped last night with regards to proposals that were on the table, but hopefully they'll see that the traveling public want to continue traveling and the flight attendants don't want to strike, and that they have an opportunity to come to an agreement.
Now, Air Canada says it has offered 38% in total compensation increase over 4 years, including to address the issue of the ground pay. Your union says Air Canada is using misleading, quote, kitchen sink figures to make the public believe that flight attendants are the ones who are somehow being greedy here. I think if you're a member of the public, you're trying to understand this, you're also possibly very frustrated. Who's telling the truth?
The overall compensation doesn't include, it does include their wage pass. Their wage pass was 8%. So an 8% wouldn't even bring us up to the 9% we've lost in purchasing power. We're still below in wages, or still would be below in wages with their pass. The overall compensation is a direct result of what we bargained with regards to crew fatigue. So our members are guaranteed a minimum 8 hours sleep. So there are many things that we needed to bargain because we're coming out of a 10-year collective agreement that respectfully over that time, a lot of issues have come up that we needed to address. So the overall compensation may seem large, but it's for basic rights that everybody else has. When it comes to the unpaid work piece, they offered to compensate 50% for minutes prior to a flight to address those issues. Safety first and last is, a company principle, company philosophy, something all flight attendants believe in. We deserve to be paid like everyone else, a full hour or full pay for those duties that we're performing. So I don't think our response to say, hey, this is what we require is unreasonable. I think it's unreasonable that Air Canada thinks that's all that their crews are currently worth to put money in the pocket where it's required right now.
I want to ask you a little bit about the compensation for the time on the ground here. The ground pay, I think, is what we're calling it, and it can mean a number of different things. The safety, potentially the plane hasn't taken off, and so the flight attendants aren't being paid. That's how I understand it. You just said there, it's what everyone else, and I assume you're talking about other airlines, flight attendants working for other companies are receiving that. So what is the standard as you see it that flight attendants elsewhere outside of Air Canada are receiving that you think you should have as well?
No, good point. And what I meant by that, and I appreciate the clarity, is that anyone that goes to work deserves to be paid. A flight attendant should be the exact same thing. Not all airlines compensate for ground time. There's different structures when it comes to formula pay, duty time, that kind of stuff. There are airlines that are paying what's called boarding pay. There's different structures for the ground. So Air Canada is not an anomaly in this, but coming out of a 10-year deal, this is something we're trying to correct. This is something that we see is required. And it's a big push globally that flight attendants are doing to ensure that they're compensated with fair wages for all time there.
Are you hearing from unions of other union members who work for other airlines in terms of specifically this issue of ground pay and where they hope things are going?
Yeah, absolutely. In Canada, we've had all our CUPE represented airlines, as well as all airlines in Canada, reach out, join in rallies, join in support with this. We've had 2 bills go in front of government to get this addressed, as we feel it should be addressed through the government, and it shouldn't be used as bargaining capital at the table. I know in the United States, there's a large push for this kind of stuff, and they've been very successful in recent contracts and getting it settled. Australia, Europe, they have things happening there. So it is a large push for sure. And as Air Canada is the largest airline in Canada, a profitable airline in Canada, and one that wants to come across that they respect the flight attendant group and the in-flight service group, I think this is paramount, to get addressed and get settled at the table.
So there'll be people who are listening to this and they will or won't see the point you're making and will or won't maybe be on the side of the arguments that you're making. But they also might have travel plans that are being disrupted, already learning that they may not be able to travel out tomorrow or on Friday, and they don't maybe like where this is going. What's your message to the public, thousands of people who potentially are going to have much anticipated summer travel plans disrupted by this?
Yeah, the goal was not taken lightly. We weren't waiting to serve strike notice. We were waiting for a pass from the employer. We were waiting to continue negotiations with the employer. Our goal is not to strike or disrupt travel plans. Our goal is to be on board the airplane, but be fairly compensated while we're doing it. This is part of the process. It is unfortunate to the traveling public, but this is the process that's out there. We're hoping that Air Canada will see that the traveling public wants to continue the traveling, wants to continue supporting Air Canada, and they'll come back to the table so there is no disruption. But we're waiting on them.
Wesley Lesosky, the president of the Air Canada component of CUPE, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Now, just a note, CBC News Network has reached out to Air Canada for an interview. We are awaiting a response to that request.